Lev Zalmanovich Kopelev, German, Lew Sinowjewitsch Kopelew, the 9th of April 1912 to 18 June 1997, was a Soviet author and dissident. Early life. Kopelev was born in Kiev, Ukraine, to a middle-class Jewish family. In 1926, his family moved to Kharkov. While a student at Kharkov State University in the philosophy faculty, Kopelev began writing in the Russian and Ukrainian languages. Some of his articles were published in the Komsomolskaya Pravda newspaper. An idealist communist and active Bolshevik, he was first arrested in March 1929 for consorting with the Bukharinist and Trotskyist opposition, and spent 10 days in prison. Career. Later, he worked as an editor of radio news broadcasts at a locomotive factory. In 1932, as a correspondent, Kopelev witnessed the NKVD's forced grain requisitioning and dekulakization. Later, he described the Holodomor in his memoirs The Education of a True Believer. Robert Conquest's The Harvest of Sorrow later quoted him directly. He graduated from the Moscow State Institute of Foreign Languages in 1935 in the German language faculty, and, after 1938, he taught at the Moscow Institute of Philosophy, Literature and History, where he earned a Ph.D. When the German-Soviet War broke out in June 1941, he volunteered for the Red Army and used his knowledge of German to serve as a propaganda officer and an interpreter. When he entered East Prussia with the Red Army throughout the East Prussian offensive, he sharply criticized the atrocities against the German civilian population and was arrested in 1945 and sentenced to a 10-year term in the Gulag for fostering bourgeois humanism and for compassion towards the enemy. In the Sharashka Marfino he met Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Kopelev became a prototype for Rubin from the First Circle. Released in 1954, in 1956 he was rehabilitated, still an optimist and believer in the ideals of communism. During the Khrushchev thaw he restored his Communist Party of the Soviet Union membership. From 1957 to 1969 he taught in the Moscow Institute of Polygraphy and the Institute of History of Arts. It was Kopelev who approached Alexander Tvardovsky, editor of the top Soviet literary journal, the Novy Mir, to urge publication of Solzhenitsyn's One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich. From 1968 onward, Kopelev actively participated in the human rights and dissident movement. In 1968 he was fired from his job and expelled from the CPSU and the Writers' Union for signing protest letters against the persecution of dissidents, publicly supporting Andrei Sinyavsky and Yuliy Daniel and actively denouncing the Soviet invasion of Czechoslovakia. He also protested Solzhenitsyn's expulsion from the Writers' Union and wrote in defense of dissenting General Pyotr Grigorenko, imprisoned at Psychushka. Kopelev's books were distributed via samizdat, smuggled out of Russia and published in the West. For his political activism and contacts with the West, he was deprived of the right to teach and be published in 1977. Germany. As a scientist, Kopelev led a research project on the history of Russian-German cultural links at the University of Wuppertal. In 1980, while he was on a study trip to West Germany, his Soviet citizenship was revoked. After 1981, Kopelev was a professor at the University of Wuppertal. Kopelev was an honorary Ph.D. at the University of Cologne and a winner of many international awards. In 1990, Soviet Premier Mikhail Gorbachev restored his Soviet citizenship. personal life. Kopelev was married for many years to Racer Orlova, a Soviet specialist in American literature, who emigrated with him to Germany. Her memoirs were published in the United States in 1984. Death. Lev Kopelev died in Cologne, Germany on June 18, 1997 at the age of 85, and was buried in the New Donskoy Cemetery in Moscow. Bibliography. Books. We Lived in Moscow, 1974. The Education of a True Believer, lit. And Madest Thyself an Idol, 1976. To Be Preserved Forever, 1976. Ease My Sorrows, a Memoir, lit. Nourish My Sorrows, 1981. No Jail for Thought, lit. About Truth and Tolerance, 1982. Holy Dr. Fyodor Petrovich, 1985. Articles. Kopelew's Lew. Rilke in Russland. Die Wechselbeziehungen russischer und deutscher Literatur sind herunterteilt. Die Zeit. Kopelev, Lev. The lie can be defeated only by truth. In Mir Synaxino of Mikhail Shragan, Boris. The Political, Social, and Religious Thought of Russian Samizdat, an Anthology. Belmont, M.A., Nordland Publishing Company, p. 327. ISBN 0913124133. Kopelev, Lev. Continent 151. Kopelew's Lew. Die Polen sind ein großartiges Volk. Der Ausgebürgerte Sowjetschriftsteller Lew Kopelew über Dissidenten, die Sowjetunion und Polen. Der Spiegel, 112. All Racer. Kopelew's Lew. Die Erinnerung an Pjotr Grigorenkost, der Hauptheld ist die Wahrheit. Die Zeit.